When he was caught in 1990, serial killer Andrei Chikatilo said that he had killed 56 people. The brutal murderer targeted young homeless people and children, eating their flesh. Chikatilo was born in Soviet Ukraine on October 16, 1936, while Stalin was that country's dictator. All of this was a direct result of the agricultural plans, and as a result, there was widespread starvation and rumors of cannibalism. His mother, Anna, had once confided in him that his older brother, Stepan, had been abducted, murdered, and eaten by starving neighbors. However, neither this story nor the claim that Chikatilo even had a brother has ever been verified. Because both of his parents worked on the farm, they had to live in a one-room shack, which meant that he had to sleep on the floor. Because Chikatilo wet the bed regularly, his mother would routinely spank him. After more research, it was found that he was born with damage to his brain, which made him unable to control how much urine and sperm he made. Shortly after the start of the war, Roman, Chikatilo's father, was conscripted into the Red Army, and he had to leave the rest of the family behind to suffer through the German Blitz. Anna Chikatilo had a daughter in 1943. It appears that the child was conceived before her husband divorced her and moved in with another woman. Roman Chikatilo gave up during battle, so the Russians took him prisoner. When the war was over, his son was forced to shame his father in public by calling him a coward. After he was told he had chronic impotence, Chikatilo became even more socially awkward and hated himself during his teenage years. When he was 23, his health problem derailed his first serious romantic attempt. He was a shy, introverted student who did not pass the entrance exam at Moscow State University. In 1960, he entered the telecommunications engineering field after serving his mandatory military obligation. The following year, in 1963, he tied the knot with the woman to whom his sister had introduced him. Even though they didn't do much sexually, they were able to have a son and a daughter. Chikatilo got his degree in Russian literature by mail and started teaching at a local high school in 1971. Even though he was accused of molesting children many times, he kept his job for almost a decade. He relocated to Shakhty for a new job in 1978. He started having pedophilic fantasies while he was waiting for his family to arrive, and he would sneak out of the house and go to a hut by the street so he could watch the children. On December 21st of that year, he abducted a young girl named Yelena Zabatnova, 9, and stabbed her to death in the woods, ejaculating while he did it. He wanted to rape her but was impotent and couldn't get an erection. Chikatilo preyed on young children and adolescents of both sexes, as well as women who were in their early to mid-20s in age at the time of their infection. He would usually try to trick them at train or bus stations by telling them he had money, drugs, alcohol, toys, or candy for them. Other times, he would tell them he had something important to tell them. In order to achieve sexual release, he would entice them to follow him to a nearby forest, where he would bind them with rope and kill them by stabbing them with a knife. He mutilated them regularly, doing things such as gouging out their eyes because he believed they held a snapshot of the last thing they saw. He stopped doing this once he discovered it wasn't true. He had been eviscerating their stomachs, chewing off their noses, and cutting out their tongues and genitals, among other things. When he tortured his male victims, he often told himself that they were his prisoners. He thought that his actions had made him a hero. On one occasion, he actually bit off a young female victim's nipple and swallowed it, which caused him to ejaculate. This was done to gain access to her private parts. The young woman who was killed, similar to another serial killer named Arthur Shaw Cross, he would occasionally stuff his victims' mouths with mud and leaves to stifle their screams. On a regular basis, he would eat their bones, and sometimes he would even eat their blood. Chikatilo was responsible for more than 50 known murders during the subsequent 12 years. Because the Soviet government heavily censored reports of crimes like serial killings and rapes in the state-controlled media, stories began to take on a life of their own. One of the rumors that circulated was that the victims were killed and mutilated by a werewolf. The murders weren't brought to light until August 1984, by which time Chikatilo had already taken the lives of at least 30 individuals. He was thought to have killed Yelena Zabatnova because he had been seen with her, but another man confessed to the murder while being tortured and was then put to death, so Chikatilo could keep killing. Chikatilo was seen with Yelena Zabatnova. In September 1984, when he was seen talking to several women at the Rostov bus station, he he was arrested for trying to get a prostitute to work for him. This led to his conviction. After his briefcase was looked through, a kitchen knife, a towel, a rope, and a jar of petroleum jelly were found inside. The investigators had no choice but to let him go after discovering that his blood type did not match the semen found on the bodies. This has never been fully explained, but sometimes it is thought that office workers made a mistake. According to other sources, it was because he was a non-secretor, so his blood type could not have been determined from his semen. Several weeks after his arrest, he was kicked out of the Communist Party after being found guilty of stealing from his place of employment and given 3 months in jail for his crime. In November 1990, Chikatilo was stopped as he was leaving the area where the body of his last victim, Svetlana Korostik, was found. He was arrested and questioned. On November 14, the day after the bodies were found, he was officially arrested and questioned by the police. In the 2 weeks that followed, he said he was responsible for as many as 57 murders, but police could only link him to 36 of them. On April 14, 1992, the case was brought before a judge for a trial. To keep Chikatilo safe from the families of the people he had killed while he was testifying, he had to be put in an iron cage. His behavior throughout the proceedings was, to put it mildly, peculiar. He pulled down his pants twice, exposed himself, and yelled that he was not a homosexual. At various points, he claimed to be pregnant and lactating, and he went back and forth between being bored and angry. He further stated that he was innocent of a number of murders to which he had previously confessed while at the same time confessing to other murders that were not known. Chikatilo started singing just as the prosecutor was about to deliver the closing argument, and he had to be removed from the courtroom because of it. When he was brought in and allowed to speak, he remained silent throughout the entire exchange. A team of psychiatrists that the court appointed did not agree with the defense contention that the defendant was insane. Chikatilo was found guilty of 52 murders on October 14, 1992. The victims included 21 males and 31 females. On February 14, 1994, he was given a single shot to the head, and it is believed that the words "I'm sorry" were his last. "Please don't blow my mind to pieces." The Japanese are interested in making a purchase. Chikatilo seems to have been the inspiration for the 2008 novel Child 44, which was turned into a movie in 2015. In Child 44, which is set in the Soviet Union in the early 1950s, there are a series of murders that are similar to Chikatilo's in terms of how they were done and who did them. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from me again, hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.